My favorite part about being a member of CAEL is that we have access to so many resources that really do champion the work behind truly supporting our adult learners. The CAEL network of professionals is also a really wonderful resource, and through our participation in LAST and our recent project with APLU, we've really been able to connect with colleagues that are on this same journey with us and can share best practices so that we can scale our work in this area.
And for me, I've really enjoyed CAEL's network from, the CAEL Connect, that the platform that we use online. It's been phenomenal, the resources. I've been very active at FIU on a lot of our credit for prior learning initiatives, and I've really relied on CAEL for their resources and expertise to help guide the work.
In its 50-year history, what would you say is CAEL's biggest accomplishment?
I think one of CAEL's largest accomplishment, and really like an overarching goal, I think, for CAEL and all of the institutional members, is to scale all of the best practices for adult learners and help institutions with the resources and support to do so. And I think in terms of the way FIU has been able to rely on those resources to help scale our own initiatives at our institution.
Wonderful. And kind of going off of that thread, what would you say is CAEL's most important contribution to the working adult learner space?
Certainly all of the policy work that's been done throughout the years. And as we have been introducing, new programming and new initiatives that we can offer to adult learners, CAEL has really been at the forefront of advocating for the student population in those areas.
50 years is quite a long time. I know we all have not been working for that long, but from your perspective in your role, what would you consider to be the biggest change in higher education?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes. I would say definitely the online learning environment has been one of the largest changes that we've seen in terms of student learning and student access. And particularly for the adult learner population, it has been able to provide much more access. As we know, adult learners have very busy lives. And so, being able to have the flexibility of that online learning, but also all of the technological innovations within the educational sphere have really has really changed. And I think even more so in more recent years, we've seen since COVID, it's been ramping up even more. So I think it's up to us to kind of stay innovative and up to speed with all those changes.
So Bridget, obviously, I know you have not been at FIU for 50 years, but I'm sure that you've, through your work, been able to witness some pretty significant changes and had conversations with folks who have maybe had a little bit more historical knowledge. So could you share a little bit more about what has changed for FIU in the past 50 years, especially in the world of adult learning?
Certainly. So FIU also just recently celebrated 50 years since our first day of classes. And we've always remained committed to student success, research excellence, being a partner in our community. And in those past 50 years, we've grown into a university that's recently been ranked the #4 public university by Wall Street Journal, among other rankings that recognize our commitment to student success and social and economic mobility. And of course, when we think about all of that success, in the history of FIU, being able to create these innovative programs, these initiatives, especially around supporting adult learners and supporting the learners in our community, has really helped to contribute to that success. And we are proud of the work that we have been able to do in that area. And over the past, I would say, 5 to 10 years, that's really been a major focus of ours. How do we make it easier, for learners to either continue their education if they're an adult learner or return back? Maybe, they finished their AA degree, they went to work, and they've decided, I really want that bachelor's. How do we make it as easy as possible for them to do that? And that's really how we've been leading our work in the adult learner space, from that student-centered perspective.
That's really wonderful. And I should have mentioned, and congratulations on your 50th anniversary. 1973 and 74 were big years. FIU's legacy as a founding institutional member for CAEL and its continuing membership today indicate a long-standing focus on adult learners and workers, which both of you have already touched on. So could you just share, a little bit more about why this particular student demographic is so important to FIU? And could you share some examples about how you support their success?
Certainly. So FIU has had a long history of serving adult learners. When FIU opened its doors, we were an upper division only institution. So we have a lot of folks here that like to say, Lily and I being two of those people, that serving adult learners is in our institutional DNA. I mentioned this earlier, but we take our responsibility as an anchor institution in our community, right, in Miami-Dade County and the surrounding areas, extremely seriously, which is why, we have this commitment to ensuring we develop pathways, for adult learners, for community members, in achieving their goal of that bachelor's degree. So this has really been reflected in the work that we've been doing since we've opened. And especially when we talk about transfer student success, this is what we're calling, that we need to be a transfer receptive institution. So we have the Connect for Success pathway that has been extremely successful. And we've also been, of course, working on more traditional articulation agreements, between AA, in the BA or BS degrees. But we've also started to work on articulation between AS degrees and our bachelor's programs, which again opens up those pathways to even more students. And I think another great example is through the wraparound services that we provide to our military affiliated adult learners, whether that's the initial review of their military credits, that may satisfy FIU's core requirements, to the actual holistic support that our dedicated veteran and military affairs offices provides to these students. FIU has been recognized nationally by multiple organizations for this dedication and commitment to the success of veteran and military affiliated students. And I think the most recent example that we're really proud of has been this development of prior learning assessment, which is really providing opportunities for students to gain credit for that professional experience and industry training so that they can more quickly progress through their degree program.
That's great. And it's just so interesting because we just launched a credit mobility community of practice this year. And so I've written a note to follow up with you both on presenting at that, or learn, I know that our group would love to learn more, and we're piloting a military community of practice. And so your answer just intersected two big priorities, at least in my work right now. So, more signs that this was a conversation meant to be. Thank you so much, Bridget. How are you seeing the dynamics among what we consider our ecosystem, which includes higher ed, workforce, industry, employers, and mission-aligned organizations? How do you see the dynamics having changed and changing in this moment because of, oh man, this is a complicated question now that I'm reading.
Yeah, it is. The dynamics are certainly changing. I think more so recently, as you mentioned, because of the change in technology and all of the advances that are moving so quickly, we're trying to keep up. But certainly within higher education and industry, there is a need for more connection. There needs to be clear articulation of skill-based credentials and all of the different things that we offer students. And so working with industry, making sure that as a higher education institution, we're making those connections. We are we're certainly responding to the needs of the workforce and to the industry partners that we have, but certainly moving forward, we are all trying to achieve the same goal. So that we can impact our local and national communities. And the only way we can do that is really by working together. So finding ways that we can, meet each other halfway or you know, 3/4 of the way, however it works, but making sure that we build those connections and, you know, drop all the silos and just really find a way to work with each other, and because we're all trying to reach the same common goal.
But to both of you, what do you love most about your work?
So I have been at FIU for about 13 years now, and what I love most is that I have the ability to pilot innovative projects and initiatives that are really designed to best serve our students, right? I always feel like every day when I come into work that I am part of a university community that really is committed, right, to that social, that economic mobility of our students, and that is really why I continue to be at FIU, and then I continue to do the work that I am able to.
And I'll also add, you know, very similar to Bridget, I love working. I've been at FIU for almost 17 years. I think I'm inspired by two main things. That certainly the students is one of them, but FIU is extremely student-centered. That has been part of our mission, you know, since I started working here, and that hasn't changed. And so that, you know, certainly drives my work, because I feel like everything I do, you know, obviously builds towards that same purpose. But one of the other things that I think is amazing about FIU is that we have such brilliant and passionate people working here at the institution. And so, you know, they're extremely talented, they're brilliant, and they could be working pretty much anywhere, and they choose FIU. And I think we all choose FIU because we're continuously inspired by the work that we do and the impact that we can have on our students.
What is your biggest hope for CAEL in the future?
I think for me, my biggest hope for CAEL is that you're able to continue doing the work that you've been doing for 50 years. I hope that the network continues to grow, that allows for some more of these collaborative projects that I know that Lily and I have benefited, right, from being a part of, that FIU has benefited from us being able to learn from so many great colleagues around the nation. And, you know, it's the work that's being done is so important. And I think for me, right, making sure that we can come together to really continue to developing the work around PLA, competency-based education, like Lily mentioned earlier, how are we adapting, right, to technology to better serve our students? Because the world is changing, and we have to change just as quickly to make sure that we can continue, right, to carry out this mission of really serving our students where they are with what they need.
Yeah, and I would echo that. I think you know, CAEL has a wonderful platform. They have been championing for adult learners for 50 years and just continuing that work, advocating for the students. Particularly for me, and what I've seen, because I've just completed creating a policy for FIU on PLA and credit for prior learning. And I would love to see more advocacy at the state and maybe even national level on standardizing some of these processes and some of the different policies. I know that we've done it within institutions, and some state systems have been able to accomplish that. So I think seeing more of that would be really great, because that was certainly something that was a challenge for us. But I know that you will continue to do the good work, and we are certainly here to be a part of that.
Lillian and Bridget, thank you so much.